Good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to IPSI's weekly forum on Israel, Africa, and Black America. I'm your host, Joshua Washington, Executive Director of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. And I'm with you today. My co-host, or my regular co-host, Olga Mishray Washington, is not able to join us this week. She'll be joining us next week. But I am excited to get into some of the things that we need to talk about today. That theme song you heard is called "The First 7 Miles" by Randy Sandoli. You can find that song and others on the album Simcha on all streaming platforms. Randy Sandoli is a great friend of IPSI, an amazing, accomplished jazz pianist and composer. The two of us are actually working on something together for Hanukkah, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So you can check him out, support him, buy his album, stream it, and hey, get him to come play at your event. If you've never heard of IPSI before, and this is your first time, you can go to ibsi.org and check out our website, get more information on us, our content, why we do what we do, our videos, the documents, the founding documents of Black Americans Supporting Israel Committee that inspired IPSI, all those things. You can scan that QR code that you see right there, and you can learn more about us. You can also go to our Substack. So to learn and see more about our content, go to ibsi.substack.com. You can check out our Africa Israel Weekly newsletter. You can also, as you see right there, scan that QR code and you can subscribe. And if you like the work that we do and you appreciate the work that we do, you can become a paid subscriber, which is someone who pays monthly or annually for premium content, including certain podcast episodes, certain articles, and other content. So consider that too. Also, if you like the work of IPSI and you want to support us, we ask that you become a legacy builder. A legacy builder is someone who gives monthly to IPSI, something that is a small amount, usually, and it can grow if you want it to. We have people who started off giving a very, maybe $15, $20 a month, who now give $100 a month. So whatever you can give, whatever you're able to give, if you would like to make that commitment to IPSI and give on a regular monthly basis, you can become a legacy builder. Go to ibsi.org/donate. Or if you want to just become a one-time giver, you want to just give one lump sum, you can go to ibsi.org/donate and give a one-time donation and continue to give as you are able. We are appreciative of all of those things, and we thank you for it. So as time goes on, and you see there's a QR code up there in the corner that says donate, you can scan it at any time and donate to IPSI at any point in this forum that we have today. Someone said a great song thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So check that out, you guys. Randy Sandoli, great jazz artist. He's working on a new project. He's got an amazing jazz, sometimes trio, sometimes quartet, sometimes quintet that he travels and performs with. So yes, go check that out. All right. Also, lastly, visit our merch store. We have merchandise like this Legacy Builder shirt. We have t-shirts. We have mugs. We have Zionism in the Black Church, which is our CEO's book that he wrote. He's working on another one as well. We have journals that you can purchase on your own, something to show for your support of IPSI, and we greatly appreciate it. Scan that QR code or go to ibsi.org/store, and you can check out our merchandise. All right, a couple of announcements, ladies and gentlemen. One we'll talk about later on. Our CEO and founder, Pastor Dumisani Washington, he was just in Poland. We announced that he was going last week. So this week he just got back with the as you can see that picture right there, the EJA, the European Jewish Association delegation to Auschwitz-Birkenau. He was there. He was one of the speakers. He had an incredible time, and he's actually going to join us in a little bit to share about that and some other things as well. But that was powerful, and there are other opportunities for IPSI to partner with some of the leaders that were there in Poland with him. So we're excited to share that with you. And then also in a few weeks, it's not going to be live, but it'll air, I think, shortly after. But I will be in Los Angeles in a couple of months, I should say, with PragerU. We're really excited about that. Speaking about the work that we do with the African Jewish Alliance, kind of shining a light more on the slavery that goes on the African continent. You can support African Jewish Alliance by scanning that QR code or go to givebutter.com/AJA. African Jewish Alliance is dedicated to abolishing slavery on the African continent. I'm proud to serve as the Speakers Bureau Chief of AJA. Also help with some of the video content. We have on our team our Africans, our Jews, our Israelis. We have former slaves from Sudan. We have Christians, Muslims, and Jews, people who've either experienced slavery themselves or jihadism in their own countries, people from Nigeria, from Sudan, from Mauritania. And we shine a light. We do everything from shining a light and exposing those things that are going on, that have been going on for a long time now, and pushing legislation that would actually pressure countries to do something about the slavery in their own country. So it's something that is a very powerful thing. Our good friend Charles Jacobs founded this organization. He's been fighting slavery for a long time, and we're very proud to work alongside this man. He's received recognition. He received an award from Coretta Scott King back in, I think it was 2000, for his tireless work, and even by then he had been doing it for a long time, exposing the slavery, especially in the Sudan. So we are. It's a heavy task, but it's something that goes hand in hand with what we do at IPSI, because the common denominator in all of this terrorism, whether it's October 7th, or we're talking about Boko Haram kidnapping the Chibok girls in Nigeria, to the slavery that goes on in Sudan, to the slavery in Libya, the common denominator is Islam, and many of these groups are funded by the same benefactor, Iran, right? So Iran is running roughshod all over the African continent through their different proxies and their different terrorist organizations that not only hates Jews, but hates Christians and hates Africans and enslaves them, and rapes and pillages and kills them like October 7th, but on a daily basis in different parts of the country. So there is a natural synergy that's there between Africa and Israel, if for no other reason than for the terrorism that both face from the same source, from the same people. So that's African Jewish Alliance. I'm excited to be able to share that. Like I said, in the PragerU studio in just a couple of months, which is going to be cool. And thank you all for your support on that as well. All right, now let's kind of get into it. There's been some developments that have been going on even as recently as a few hours ago. We've been following closely what's been happening with the ceasefire talks between Hezbollah and Israel. I think just yesterday or 2 days ago, Hezbollah rained hundreds of rockets in northern Israel again. And not only did we see that on the news, but we have friends who's a specific friend of ours, actually, we saw the other day. Her son is fighting in the north, and so it wasn't just a news headline for us. It was, great. Now my son has to stay there a little longer because there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and with Hezbollah attacking. But you also have these ceasefire talks happening, and so one of the things that happened was that our administration told Bibi Netanyahu that Israel needs to ceasefire, and that if they don't, then the U.S. will declare in the UN a stop to the war. Which then, knowing what we know about Hezbollah, knowing what we know about Hamas, knowing that a ceasefire was broken on October 7th, knowing that Hezbollah just got involved, there was no attacking of Lebanon, of Hezbollah, until Hezbollah got involved, knowing that they're not going to respond to that. So if Israel continues to fight, which they have to, because this is an existential war that they're facing, then Israel would be in grave violation of this stop to the war. It's strong arming Israel into either getting annihilated or being completely isolated on the international stage, which is further evidenced by the International Criminal Court's warrant against Israel, right? So this is something that, as the Biden administration is on its way out, it seems like they're trying to go in spectacular fashion. And so just recently, just a few hours ago, it seems like, so that title says U.S. believes Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire deal reached. That same article, they updated it. It seems like a ceasefire deal was reached, although we'll wait and see until Monday when it's confirmed. If it gets confirmed, a lot can happen. I'm sorry, Tuesday, a lot can happen in a day, especially when we're talking about war. And as we continue to talk about it, it's the false pretenses, right? Um, it's the false pretenses. So even in the article that we shared, it says, "Oh, why? Well, because 3,500 plus people have died in Lebanon." And it's the lie of omission. It's the lie of omission that says that there's just a war happening. Once upon a time, there was war. Okay, any kind of critical thinking person would say, okay, but what happened before the war? Well, there's this people were fighting, and way more people on this side were dying. So therefore, that side is more evil because they're killing more people. See, if you're ruled by emotions, you'll go, oh my gosh, why are they killing so many people? If you're just trying to get to the truth, you're gonna say, okay, but hold on a second. But what happened though? Just because this side is more successful at defeating this side doesn't really mean that they're bad. It just means that they're stronger, right? I mean, and so what's happening now. I think the death toll of IDF soldiers has surpassed 800. We have civilian deaths in Israel as well. Yeah, it's not as many. Israel's also a smaller country than Lebanon, but also Hezbollah had no business hopping into this fight anyway. And with their advanced weaponry, Israel really can't afford to just let these rockets fall. They have to do something. So, but ceasefire, 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 ceasefire. No real pressure on Hezbollah to ceasefire. Only Israel. Israel's enemies have shown time and time again they're not interested in a ceasefire. They don't care about ceasefire. And you know what? To their credit, they want war, right? That's what this is about, and that's what they understand. They're only using the tactic of, oh, look at how many people Israel killed from on our side, because they know that the West responds to that the way that they want to, right? It works in their favor for the West to go, oh, Israel, why are you killing so many people, and why are you killing children? Just stop this madness. So they play to that tune because they know that the West will get up and dance to it. That's all. In terms of on the ground war, they want war, and the only way to have peace with someone who wants to kill you is to take them out, right? The only way, if I'm across the street from someone who wants to kill my family and they bust into my house with a gun, at that point, the only way to have peace is to take that person out. I can't just sit on my couch and hope that peace will reign and watch my family get shot and then I get shot in the head after. Like, the only way to have peace is through victory. So a ceasefire only gives Israel's enemies time to recover, to restock, to receive more funds, and to rebuild and to keep on going. And so we're continuing to monitor. We'll see what happens between now and tomorrow. But the Biden, I see a comment. Biden is trying to get the peace in Middle East bullet point. Yeah, I mean, he's trying to do something, right? Go down in history for something before he leaves office. Yeah, it's so we're following that now, praying for peace through complete victory. That Hezbollah, that Hamas, that any other terrorist or fanatic that wants to rear its ugly head is scared crapless and stops or is taken out, and that real peace can go throughout the Middle East. And that, with the incoming Trump administration, that the Abraham Accords can continue to expand, because there were a lot of great things that happened from it, and we're hoping and praying that more amazing things will happen as well. Speaking of that, let's talk about the United Arab Emirates. Some of you have been following this. There's a Rabbi Zvi Kogan. He was an emissary to Abu Dhabi's Chabad chapter. He was missing on Thursday, since this past Thursday. And that was according to the Prime Minister's office of UAE. And then the foreign ministry said in a joint statement with the Prime Minister this past Sunday that he was kidnapped and murdered. This, if you guys recall, last week we talked about Amsterdam. We talked about Belgium. We talked about the upcoming soccer game that was happening in Paris, that the Paris government, the authorities were instructed to like more heavily than usual cover the soccer game because of these pogroms that have been happening against the Jews. Not only have there been these demonstrations against Jews, but there has been this not even excusing of this, justifying of and celebrating of these attacks against Jews, just like October 7th. This is what I saw personally. I saw, whether it was on Substack, Twitter, Instagram, and even like speeches on YouTube, people were either, at first they were justifying it. They were saying, no, the Jews, they weren't innocent. They were chanting this anti-Arab stuff and they were ripping down flags and they deserve to get what happened to them. Okay. Then you had sports people saying, we've seen fights before between rival teams, right? Especially in soccer. In soccer, I think the rivalry gets even deeper because sometimes you have two countries playing against each other that actually have a long history, right? There's a soccer team in the UK playing against South Africa, right? Okay, well there's colonization right there, and so there's not just the team rivalry, there's the history above it. So I've seen some pretty out there, pretty dastardly things said on both sides. But the thing is, people were like, we've seen fights break out and all that stuff. But what happened in Amsterdam was not just about the anti-Arab chants that were going on. Because one of the things that happened was the Arab migrants, because these were the Arab migrants who were in Amsterdam. They were tracking people. They were demanding that people show them their passports to make sure they weren't Israeli. They beat up a man who wasn't even Jewish. He was Ukrainian, and he said, I'm not Jewish. They beat him up anyway. That had nothing to do with, oh, these guys are being jerks to us. Why would you then go scour the town and just beat up random people and entrap random people, a couple walking down the street? If you're mad at some dudes who just ripped down your flag, why would you track down this couple minding their own business and say, show us your passports? That's Jew hatred. You are using whatever is going on as an excuse for Jew hatred. Also, we got information that the attacks were pre-planned anyway. So all that, right? People first, they were excusing it. And then now that some time has passed, you have people saying that it actually didn't happen that way that it said it was happening. So first it was, well, we did do it and you guys deserved it. Then it was, no, it didn't happen. Just like October 7th, right? Resistance is justified when the people are occupied, right? And then, no, that didn't actually happen. People weren't raped and you guys are making up stories. It was AI generated, all that stuff. That's part of Jew hatred, is exactly that. Any excuse to hate on the Jews. So it didn't happen. If it did happen, you deserved it. But it didn't happen and you're lying. But if it did happen, you deserved it. So that's what's going on. And so now we see that same thing happening in the United Arab Emirates. There was different articles that worded it very poorly, that continue to word things poorly. The New York Times, this is how they reported on it. If our producer can put up that picture, if you have it, of how the New York Times actually coined or titled what happened in the UAE. Do we have that? If we don't have it, then I can just read it for you. So the way the New York Times reported on it, it says, Israeli rabbi who disappeared in Dubai is found dead. Now, this is what me and my wife sometimes, when we used to teach, when we worked for Club Z, it's an organization for young Jewish teens, to think critically and to look at titles, right? Israeli rabbi who disappeared in Dubai is found dead. We would ask them, what's wrong with this title? Well, it's very passive, right? Disappeared, found dead. Disappeared meaning, oh, maybe he wandered off somewhere and he got into an accident. What happened was that he was kidnapped. So he was abducted and then he was found murdered. He was killed. He was jumped by several guys and he was murdered. That's actually what happened. And the New York Times, which is one of the biggest newspapers ever, doesn't say that. They don't say it. They said that he disappeared and he was just found dead. That's evil, and that is how that is how the media continues to report on not just things having to do with Israel, but things having to do with Jews. The UAE authorities said that they found the killer. They found the perpetrators. We were talking to some friends of ours. We're hoping that's the case. But then there are some other questions that were raised too, because apparently they were able to track this man down. And because this happened, this guy is the rabbi of Chabad in UAE. There are Chabad houses all over the world, right? Because that's kind of part of the vision of Chabad, is to be able to be accessible. The Jews who are traveling, who may not know where to go, or what synagogues to go to. There's a Chabad house and then also people who wanted to learn more. They're just there for people. And so we're hoping and praying that this does not become a trend for Chabad houses all over the place. But we wouldn't be surprised, although I should say that it's probably the case already, that these Chabad places in different parts of the world have armed guards and all that stuff because of what's going on. It's crazy, you guys. So it is a little bit comforting to see that the UAE is doing something about this, but there are questions about how these people were able to get as far as they got in the first place. So IPSI is continuing to monitor that as well. Now, lastly, I mentioned this earlier. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, they put out a warrant against Israel. And as we've been seeing the past couple of weeks, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, saying, "Oh, if Bibi comes here, we'll arrest him. We could arrest him." And ever since Israel signed the ceasefire, or agreed to a ceasefire with Hezbollah earlier today, I know that President Macron and Bibi have talked since then. And so, but the thing is that there is this is the circus that we're talking about. So there's an International Criminal Court warrant against Israel for Bibi Netanyahu's arrest for alleged war crimes that they're saying, right? And they had warrants against 3 other Hamas members who are all dead, right? So that this part, right? They had one for Yahya Sinwar, and then one other Mohammed Daif. Hamas has not confirmed that Mohammed Daif is dead yet, but Israel said they took him out. So these are 3 guys who, first of all, October 7th was over a year ago, and now you're issuing a warrant for their arrest, not because of the rapes, not because of invading Israel in the first place, not because of the bodies that were slaughtered, not because of the babies who were killed, not because of the women who were gang raped and killed while they were being gang raped, not because of the people who are still being tortured right now in Gaza, not because of the little kids who are trapped in Gaza right now, not because of the people who are being starved and given just enough food to be alive and to be in pain from the sun, not because of any of that stuff, not because of the soccer field in Tel Aviv that was leveled, and the 12 Druze children who were killed from Hezbollah rocket, not because of any of that, right? None of that really. All of a sudden now we're going to put out a warrant for the arrest of 3 guys who are dead because Israel already took them out. What's that saying? It's like closing the barn doors after the horses have left the stable, right? It's like these guys have been alive for a year. They did all those things, documented all those things. They ordered all these things to happen. Nothing was said. Israel responds. Now everything is being said. And now that those 3 guys have been taken out, now we want to issue a warrant for Bibi Netanyahu's arrest and theirs, even though they're not even alive. It's virtue signaling in its worst form. So this is something that we've been following as well. It is obviously evil. The ICC is not consistent at all. They are not a good what's the word? They're not reputable. They're not anything. They throw around this authority and this weight. They're a bunch of crooks and collaborators, and we'll continue to call them out. There may be an article coming out soon about that from our Speakers Bureau chief, Olga Mitchell Washington, on more the legal side of that as well. So that's been going on. We're following those things, you guys. By the way, if you're tuning in, if you just tuned in, you scan the QR code, you can donate to IPSI. This is the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. I'm your host, Joshua Washington, the executive director of IPSI. And we're here until every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So now we're going to stop for just a moment. I'm seeing some comments. I see you guys. Thank you for tuning in and joining us. And thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to move forward just a little bit. So we cover these things here. I'm going to share with you first, before I bring in our CEO and founder. We have a recap from our CEO and founder has a radio show called Truth to Power Live. It's every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, in which he talks about a myriad of issues. And sometimes those issues overlap with what IPSI's doing. In any case, we have just an ad, a short break to give you a recap on some of what he talked about this past Sunday, and then we'll bring him in to continue discussing. So check this out.
Months ago, I was on the phone with an Israeli friend. He had a friend with him who's one of the captains of the guards in the Galilee region. Pastor Dumisani, thank you all for the work that you're doing. We know that Hashem has us. This may be the great battle that the prophet spoke of. And he says then to me, Rabbi, some of us may have to die. Here he is encouraging me as a Christian supporter of Israel. And he's speaking of the God of Israel and how we're going to be victorious. And what he was saying, I'm willing to lay down my life to defend Eretz Israel. That has nothing to do with whether or not God is the Shomer Israel. As a soldier, he was saying to me, my job is to fight, and fight I will. If I have to die, we will live. Yes, we stand with you. You inspire us. Zionism has meant to the Black community for centuries something that means rebirth, that means moving forward, that means building from the ashes. And no less now, you inspire us. We stand with you. Know that it is real. Know that it is genuine. And thank you so much for allowing me to be with you here on tonight.
All right, now we have our CEO and founder here with us, Pastor Dumisani Washington. Hello, sir.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Not much. Yeah, we had just talked about your trip to Poland. We didn't get into it, but I wanted definitely to have you share with us, and then whatever else has been going on, especially with the last episode of Truth to Power Live. I think there's a lot of overlap actually to what we're doing. So
yeah, as a matter of fact, on that same Truth to Power Live episode from Sunday, I actually played a clip from the forum last week. That specific clip dealt with when you were discussing the latest article in IPSI's Substack about Iran's reach into the Black community, and then you talked about the Louis Farrakhan piece on there. It's funny that, as I've said before in the past, Louis Farrakhan, an older man now in his 90s, people would often ask, what's the relevance? And, I've explained to them, many times, not just him and the decades of the Jew hatred and the Israel hatred and all of those things, but the tool that he's been used as by regimes like the Iranian regime, which is why you were pointing out that his 2018 trip to Iran, chance of death to Israel, death to America, all of those things. Right. And then when you combine that with Iran's and the PLO specific reach into it, it's amazing, Joshua. You've heard me say this before. When people would ask about the higher levels of anti-Semitism in the Black community as compared to some others, I acknowledge even the book is that's true. There's many different reasons for that. And again, without even trying to get into it now, just understanding context. If it is true, and it is true, that especially since the 1960s, the disinformation campaign against Israel and to ramp up anti-Semitism focused on Black leaders, right? That was that thing. And then you have not so much then all the political part of it and everything with the attempting to victimize the Black community. When you have the curriculum that's in the schools now, that's an extension of the other stuff, all the communist information, the Marxist stuff like them, and all the anti-Zionist, everything. These things were almost always first tried on the Black community. So there was so much coming at our community when it came to anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, that I often tell people, you should be surprised that it's not higher in the Black community, because there's still a majority of Black Americans who still stand with Israel, even though you have a situation which all that disinformation, or much of it, was always attempting to use Black people. That was always the case. It was always this case, which I will talk about in Zionism in the Black church. It's not to belittle anti-Semitism, but any community, whether it's white, Black, Hispanic, whatever. Right. But understanding the broader context of it is always important. Everything, and so yeah, the trip to Auschwitz, Birkenau, again, a shout out to European Jewish Association, Ruth Wasserman Land, and also Ruth Isaac, Rabbi Margolin, the different leaders in place. They were wonderful hosts. It was a whirlwind thing, yeah, because today's Monday. So yeah, last Sunday I was on a plane headed out to Poland, and I was coming back here on a Wednesday. So it was a 2-day thing. For those who haven't seen it already, it's on IPSI's Substack as well. So on the Africa Israel Weekly, you can go to there, and the very last, or maybe the second to last one, I even entitled it "My Trip to Auschwitz." So you click on that. I give a quick little blurb, but then also there's a video link to the whole 20. I gave a 20-minute keynote address. It was supposed to be 7. They said, please speak 7 minutes, and I didn't even realize I was talking that long. But again, it went fine. Talked to a lot of people, Joshua. It's mainly the EJA, European Jewish Association. Even when they invited me, when I got the email, they acknowledged that this is generally just for Europeans. Every once in a while, they make an exception. And Ruth had let me know that one of the exceptions, for example, was Elon Musk back in January when he did this same event or similar event there, which was a delegation to Auschwitz. I remember seeing some of those videos, but they reached out to us. They've seen the work that IPSI's done. And thank you all of those who are listening, all of you supporters, whether you are subscribed to the Substack, whether you tune in with us here. If you're just tuning us in for the first time and you share the link, you're helping us get the word out, has helped us even more effectively do our work. We are our primary focus is the Black American community, especially pastors and leaders. But again, we work across the spectrum, and we've gotten quite a bit of thank yous, if you will, from the Jewish diaspora, both in Israel but also the diaspora. This is a calling for me, and then for many members of my family and other parts of our staff. This is something very much God placed on my heart to do. And there's still much to do. There's too much to do. But I'll say this last thing about the trip itself. It was maybe the Monday night was the dinner. Last Monday night was the dinner. And then Tuesday was the actual visit to Auschwitz. And then Auschwitz 1 and 2, they often call them. There's Auschwitz and there's Birkenau. These were death camps. We saw the ovens. we saw the displays. As you guys saw in the video, I would just, there's a lot more of those videos. I just want to do something brief. One of those things that I didn't really capture. I got a video, but I didn't put it in the snippet there. They would take women. So the Nazis were very, very efficient murderers, efficient mass murderers, and they would use everything available. They would extract the gold and the metal from people's teeth, so they could use it and for other things. I'm talking about people, the Jews that they would kill, Jews and Gypsies, and of course, and other Poles and Russians. But again, the most of them Jews. They would save the women's hair and use that for the fabric making. They would use that fabric to make quilts and different bedspreads, that type of thing. So you saw the hair piles, and you saw the luggage that was piled up. If those of you who've ever been to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum there in Jerusalem, it was a mini Yad Vashem, just in terms of scope, not in terms of importance, but in terms of just scope. Smaller venue, but very much all of that. And then all of the things impactful. One of the things I'll mention just now is the tali. You saw the prayer shawls from the rabbis and from the Jewish men. There was a table of them that was there. I caught it on the video and took a picture. And being, again, these are the things that were left from what they found in the camp. But yeah, it was surreal. And I had the opportunity, and please, goodness gracious, I didn't pull up his name. He is now the latest CEO of the conference of oh my goodness gracious, Conference of Presidents of Jewish Organizations. I'm sorry, you all, I'm going off the dome. He and his wife are both there. Had a chance to talk with them, and he and I are the ones who are laying the wreath together. We were able to come together. The different nations were represented. So for the U.S. is myself and the head of the Conference of Presidents. We laid the wreath there at the U.S. part of it at the memorial site there at the end of our tour there. So yes, and then had a long talk with Rabbi Margolin about the work that we do here, what's going on in Europe. Some of you are already aware, but those of you who are not, Europe is on fire. I don't care if it's in the Netherlands, like we all saw what happened, as Joshua was just talking about that, whether it's France, whether it's London, Germany. It's so the Jew hatred that our Jewish brothers and sisters are experiencing, and the attacks on Christians, it's already on the next level. Burning down of Christian churches. You have it is a jihadist mindset that is coming against to destroy Christians and Jews, and then other Muslims who, again, are not down, who do not want to see any of this happen. And it's coming like a wave for us, United States. We already see symbols of it. I'll stop there, and I'll keep going, because we see it happening, but what we are seeing are the smoldering fires that are going to be fanned flames in a moment, unless something drastically happens. And there's some things that need to happen. As a matter of fact, Joshua, we'll have a exclusive donor event in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from Thanksgiving. We have an exclusive donor event called What We See on the Horizon. Again, if you're not a donor, if you want to become a donor, you want to be invited to that event, you definitely can. You can go and make a donation, go to ibsi.org. You can become a legacy builder, as Joshua said before. Or if you are a premium subscriber to Africa Israel Weekly, even if you haven't donated to IBSI, but you are a premium subscriber to our Substack, you will also receive an email. Another one has gone out a few days ago to our premium donors, but premium subscribers. But we'll be sending out a couple of other ones over the next couple of weeks, and we'll discuss that, because things are very bad, and it's not some sort of arrogant thing. We're going to come and have a meeting to how everything's going to get fixed. No, there's some stuff that's going to have to play all the way out in terms of our curriculum and what's going on in our schools. We're going to have to do the hard work of actually reestablishing education, that type of thing. But there are some other things that can be done, some in the meantime things that can be done that are setting the tone for a longer haul. And they have to be done. It's very, very crucial that we begin that work. And so we'll be talking about that as well.
I had a question about one of the videos that is on YouTube now from Truth to Power Live is about Farrakhan, about him, denying him with the Iranian officials, but also of him denying slavery happening in Sudan. And I remember seeing videos of different Black leaders, professors, actually calling him out on it quite a bit and breaking that down. Is that is it the case that there's just less of people who are informed calling him out, or are they just not getting attention? Where are those same voices that were there?
But what's interesting is that, our friend Charles Jacobs, that press conference, I've shared it on Truth to Power Live, also on my personal ones. And then Joshua, you referred to it. As a matter of fact, last week when you were dealing with the Farrakhan slavery piece. So people need to really understand this, to answer your question. By now, it's interesting. I have said for years, now this is before I heard about Charles Jacobs' press conference in 1996, Howard University. And we even think that maybe Ta-Nehisi Coates, who was a student at Howard, was at that conference, was at that press conference. We're going to verify that because it sure does look and sound like him from the side. We're going to just verify that because I have some other things to say about that as well. But for now, 1994 was the Rwanda genocide. For those of you who know a little bit of your history, Joshua, you were all of 4 years old. So I remember that very vividly. And I also remember that was among the last times you saw any concerted Black American voice giving concern about Africa. Now, of course, South Africa around the same time, the mid 1990s, right? But that was the last time. And I remember that I was in my 20s back then. Right? So I was okay. And then as I went forward, recognized that though I knew this somewhat, it found out even more so that one of the things that kept that from happening, in other words, Black Americans who otherwise would have been concerned about the continent themselves, whether they consider themselves Afrocentric or whether they just concerned about the motherland or whatever, that is gone. It was in the 90s that it got siphoned off. Some of that has to do with the whole Israeli-Palestine, because the more the Palestine issue became a leftist Black issue in the political sphere, right? Because it was always like far leftist thing, but as it began to become part of Democrat politics, and yes, I'm gonna say it again, over the last several years, the Democrat Party has become the U.S. Islamist party. That does not mean that there's not Jew hatred in the Republican Party. We're talking about systemic. We're talking about actually institutional. I've talked about that before. You can check it out on Truth to Power Live. Actually, I'll give you the receipts. The reason I'm bringing that up is that Farrakhan played a very major role. He lied, he obfuscated, he switched, said there was no slavery, then he said it was kind of slavery. So in that press conference, these African men are actually calling him out with conversations that they had with him. It's not like they just wrote a letter, he wrote them back. They actually sat down with him and asked him questions. It's all good. And they watched him carry water for the mullahs, carry water for the Islamist terrorists, carry water for the Arab Muslim slave traders, threw those Africans under the bus, and he helped make it a taboo subject to even discuss. Fast forward today, I'm not blaming it all on him, don't get me wrong, but as Charles Jacob had said as well, he was probably the most well-positioned Black American voice that if he had said something, it may have helped shift it. He not only didn't say anything to condemn it, he lied and said that there was no slavery. And as you know, the Boston Globe, and it was in the press for a little while. All this was back in the 90s. It's gone, completely gone.
Wow.
And, he lied. L-I-E-D. Write it down. Right. So you could show. We have it on the video. He actually said, you saw it when, if you find it, then you go back and you tell the people like going, wow, really? And he said he went there. He didn't see any of it. These are the Africans that are going, and a couple of them are African Muslims.
Right.
He said, I'm a proud Muslim. And he said, how could he? Muslims are raping other Muslims. He even said they're raping them. They're killing them. Farrakhan's like, that ain't my problem. That ain't my business. I'm going, wow. Yep. That has a lot to do with how we got to where we are right now.
Wow. And then contrast that with him being in Iran in 2018, I think. 2018, right. Sorry. Yeah. 2018, chanting death to America, death to the West.
It's
That's
funny. There
Israel.
was somebody that people get sometimes in their feelings, but I don't
Yeah.
care about feelings. So there was a comment on my IG page, and I'm assuming it's a Black Hebrew Israelite. You're not telling the truth. Farrakhan didn't say that, and that's amazing. Not all, but listen to me, Black Hebrew Israelites. There are some. So one of the ways you guys out yourselves by not being genuine Torah lovers and Israel lovers is when you carry water for somebody like Louis Farrakhan. It's like a white Christian carrying water for David Duke. Like, don't tell me about all this Jesus. I ain't even hearing you, bro. I'm not even hearing you. I'm not hearing you. Oh, well, you got to really understand. Why I got to understand David Duke? Why I got to understand Louis Farrakhan? He called Judaism a gutter religion. He called Jews termites. This man has stoked makes all kinds of excuses, will even ignore the enslavement because of Islam. One of the, as you know, Joshua, in the press conference, one of the Africans who was speaking was saying basically he wants more Black Americans to become Muslims. So he doesn't want to tell them about what Muslims are doing to us over here in the region. I'm going, so then when I hear Black Hebrew Israelites, I'm like going, okay, but you claim to be somebody who's concerned about Torah, but this dude spits on Judaism, right? He spits on Jews, he spits on Israel, but you sit there and defend him. You let me know your God is not Hashem, your God is blackness. Your God is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Your God is your skin color. And so those, not all of them, but for those Black Hebrew Israelites, you need to check yourself.
Right. Yeah. I was wondering what that link was, because it would seem like they would actually be against each other. A lot of them are together.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what people, again, and that's the insecurity. I've talked about it with Mr. Stripe a couple of years ago, and that's that whole. I know what I don't have no time for all the, I'm just going for it. Those whole father figures, and maybe the brokenness. Some of them cleave to him, whether Black Hebrew Israelites or the Nation of Islam, whatever. And yes, I have acknowledged as well some of the good things he's done in the Black community, but they're afraid. I ain't even talking about publicly. I'm not even talking about publicly what they say. You ain't gonna be brave enough to say whatever. I'm talking about behind closed doors. No, because nope. That's the brokenness. And I was telling some of that has to do with, well, he's such a father figure. I had a father. I ain't talking about I love my father very much. I knew who my father. I wasn't hurting for male role models. I'm just saying that the vacuum that's been created has made some of these brothers like, oh, well, Farrakhan's like, man, you tell the truth, right? So that's part of the problem. Part of the problem that he would present himself as a father figure. Then he say all this off the wall garbage, and then be like, oh yeah. To this day, they will deny his role in Malcolm X's death. He stood there. He didn't really do it. The fans. I mean, the dude is standing there. Basically saying we handled Malcolm the way a nation handles a traitor. And he said, and what the hell business is it of yours? I said, either he did it or he didn't do it. And he's up there profiling like some sort of fake rapper that he did do it. Either way, it should bother you that he's bragging about the fact that Malcolm was dead and that Malcolm deserved it because how he had betrayed it. See, I can't with that. Oh, nope, I can't with that. When I see that kind of cognitive dissonance and that kind of cult, but I don't care if you black, white, brown, pink. When I see you cultishly, nope, no. So that's part of the problem. That's part of why we are here when it comes to the slave issue in Africa and how most Black leaders will not touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Right. Can you tell us what's coming up for IPSI in 2025? Some things we're planning right now.
So as you guys know, some of you know already, we launched our in-person forum on Israel, Africa, and Black America. Joshua's hard at work with our good friend, Pastor Maurice, basketball now, Pastor Roger Cheeks of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. And so we are planning those events across the country in 2025. There should be a promo video up for that by the end of this week or after Thanksgiving that we'll be sharing. So we would love to come to your city, although most of the cities have been scripted almost right now. But if we're going to be somewhere where you are, we'd love to see you. That's what we're looking for. One of the things we're looking forward to, Joshua, is the forum on Israel, Africa, and Black America, where we actually will unpack these types of topics with Black pastors and leaders and have some big boy and big girl conversations. I mean, it's way past time. We're recognizing that this Jew hatred, this Israel hatred, this America hatred, which is tearing at the seams of our nation, which is actually giving rise to more and more terrorism and everything across the world, right?
Yeah.
But especially in the Western world, this is a very, very heavy time. And then also we are looking forward to finally taking our African and Black American pastors to Israel as part of our IPSI pastors, the clergy version of our peace initiative. And we may be able to even pull off a second round of the peace initiative itself to join in with our 2022 and 23 IPSI ambassadors. And then, of course, also there's a music one that's in the works. Though you don't know, Joshua is also not just the executive director for IPSI, but also he's a music director for the Hebrew Project Artists, and he's an artist himself. He does other producing, and we are in conversations now about a second, or what will be even a third trip to Israel 2025, in which we will go with our singers and musicians and others in jazz and some gospel stuff and some R&B stuff and some soul, some neo soul stuff, be able to go to Israel, join in with some Israeli musicians as well. And we're hoping to do that in June. So that's some of IPSI. That one's not a straight IPSI one, but IPSI will be involved in that with that one, as well as other organizations. So we are planning all of those things. Olga, of course, one of our board members, Joshua's wife, and one of the senior staff members as well. We had our staff meeting today, and we were talking about some of what's coming up. That's all the stuff that's front and center. We're working on some other, very, very important things as well that deal with this fight that are just kind of off the grid, but we are working on those as well. So just a few things that are coming up for 2025.
Yes, and we're excited to let you guys know about, especially the Israel trip as well. Yeah, we're in talks with some good people making that happen. And then also you mentioned the Pastors Forum, and then we also have, I was telling you, for those who were here since the beginning, here the theme song every week. That's from Randy Sandoli. He's a good friend of ours and a good friend of IPSI's. We're working on a Hanukkah original coming out. It's part of a larger project, but something that was always been on our hearts to do was actually have some original music for Hanukkah to contribute to the holiday season. So that will be coming out in about 10 days. We actually are collaborating with a couple of Israeli musicians as well, and we have that coming out soon. So a lot of good stuff that's coming ahead. We're looking forward to it. And thank you, sir. I mean, I think what time is it? Yeah, we got just a few minutes left. I do want to say to make sure to visit our website again. So if you haven't checked us out before, ibsi.org. You can become a legacy builder. You can give monthly, or you can just scan the QR code. I saw someone commented on the Instagram and said they donated just now. So we appreciate that. If you like the work that we do, you can scan that code, or you can go to ibsi.org/donate, become a legacy builder, give monthly, or become a paid subscriber to our Substack. Or you can order one of the shirts that you see. I got my legacy builder shirt. Our CEO has one of our IPSI shirts on. We have others as well. We have mugs. We have journals. I think we even have some jewelry or something like that. Or we have water bottles, things like that. So go to ibsi.org/store and check all that stuff out as well. We will be coming to your area. Like you said, the pastors events, they're pretty much set in stone. Some of the ones later in the year, we're still, me and Pastor Cheeks trying to figure it out. We might wind up doing 2 in a couple of those months for cities that aren't too far away. So there's still a chance to come to your city. You can scan that QR code or go to ibsi.org/dates and see where we're going to be, and even request an event with us. We would love to come out to where you are and work with you. And then, you guys tune in next week. So next week, same time, same place, every Monday at 8 p.m. we're here. There's a lot of developments. I'm sure there will be a lot to talk about next week. Even between now and tomorrow, we'll see what happens with this fake whole ceasefire deal that's going on right now, and how that develops. But in the meantime, you guys, please share. We're on all the streaming platforms. Let your friends and neighbors know, and we appreciate you. And thank you, sir. Thanks, Daddy, for coming in. Is there anything else you want to leave with us before we close out?
Only that everyone have a great Thanksgiving weekend, holiday. We're just a few days away. I want to thank everyone again. Hey, Elika, if that's the Elika I know that's out there in LA, I'm seeing on my little IG thing there. My wife was out of town tending to her mother, and was kind of going back and forth from out of town. So I saw many acknowledgement. I said something on social media, and lots of people said, we're praying for your mother-in-law. So thank you guys so much. My wife is back home safely. And the mother-in-law is still it's a difficult thing where she is there right now, but she's being watched over while my wife came back, at least for a little while. So thank you guys for that. We're looking forward to a blessed Thanksgiving. I'm hoping the same thing for all of you. I even have some Israeli friends who, it's not an American thing, but we sometimes just kind of acknowledge that you guys acknowledge it and everything. So again, you guys have a great time with your families, everything. We will be back, as Joshua said, both on Sunday with the Truth Power Live, then of course on Monday on the forum. And there is much to unpack, much to discuss. So we're looking forward to doing that with you as well.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next week, and you guys have a good holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Hi, everybody.